Hi guys, real quick, I want to talk about Anthony Joshua versus Robert Helenius. I don't have too much to say. All I have to say is that AJ kind of looks still stiff. He doesn't look 100% ready to engage. He seems kind of scared to engage, but those are things that everybody says. I feel like Robert Helenius is getting undercredited for a couple things. One, Robert Helenius had a full training camp. People seem to be ignoring that. I know he was a late replacement for Dillian White, but here's the thing. Robert Helenius had a fight literally the week before, August 5th. And when he came in there, he already had won that fight, and he was coming off a good fight. He was looking good, and he had a full training camp. So so having a couple rounds doesn't really seem too out of the world for me. I think the bigger takeaway here is that AJ looks kind of scared to engage. The first couple of rounds, he was like really hesitant. He threw the right hand, but he wasn't really committing to it. He would jab, he would walk away. He would try to figure him out as how he explained it. But Robert did land a couple jabs, and I didn't really like that. Robert was landing some clean shots, got AJ kind of bloodied. Something I don't think should have been happening, but then again, I'm willing to give Robert the benefit of the doubt because he was ready to engage. All that being said, AJ ended up fully committing around 7 and getting the KO, and he looked good. The first KO he's gotten in a long time since I get Kharbat Pulev, and good for his confidence, good for his relationship with Derek James, and good to keep active and keep the gears running for the next fight, which is Deontay Wilder, which is more interesting. I see people having this triangle theory where AJ didn't knock out Robert Helenius in the round like Wilder, so people are trying to give him a lot of shit for it. But I don't think that's fair to compare because triangle theories in boxing don't necessarily work, although they're a good way of assessing your guy. I think they're very two different fighters, and I think there's a lot of factors into this next fight that really depend. For starters, in AJ's case, he can't be as tentative as he's been. He has to be willing to commit to go inside and to make Deontay Wilder stumble, fight back, and willing not to engage, get him tired at some point. Sort of like what Tyson Fury did, but to a smarter way. I don't think bull rushing him as AJ is a smart idea. I think AJ should push him back, boxing, and using his power, because people don't give AJ credit for his power. Wilder, on the other hand, has a lot of ring rust. He hasn't fought since October of last year, which is damn near over a year, and he hasn't been in the ring, and he's been trying to fight Andy Ruiz, but Andy Ruiz is being a little bitch. But that plays a lot of role. He hasn't fought in a long time. And the last fight he fought was Robert Helenius, and he only had 60 seconds, or not 60, about 3 minutes of action before the fight was over. So, and before then, there was 2 back-to-back ass beatings by Tyson Fury. So there's a lot of questions going to that fight for me, where it's 1, how good is Wilder's chin after 2 ass beatings? 2, how willing to engage is Wilder after 2 ass beatings? And 3, is he tentative? I don't know. There's a lot of things I don't know because I haven't seen Wilder fight really much outside of the Tyson Fury ass beatings. Because the Robert Helenius, he didn't really do anything. It wasn't like in the AJ case where he got hit a couple times. We could say, okay, he's not scared or he's tentative. We didn't know that. So we don't know how much those 2 ass beatings came to case. So I'm going to say, and I'm going to be a little controversial here, I'm going to give the slight edge to Anthony Joshua in the Wilder fight in December because of the ring rust Wilder has, and because I know for a fact that AJ is willing to go rounds and he knows how to box, and people give him a lot of shit, but he's a good boxer. Look at both Alexander Usyk fights. Although he lost, they're competitive. Although people want to give him shit for losing to a smaller man, but Usyk is good. He's really good. He's going to knock out Dubai next weekend. So you guys can't take too much out of that loss. And although he's looked stiff in his recent events, I think the more active he is, the less and less he'll look. He looked better, in my opinion, in the Jermaine Franklin fight. So clearly, more activity is the key. That being said, Wilder is not 100% either, and I'm curious. I'm giving the edge just because of pure boxing. I know Wilder has the magic eraser, which most American fanboys are going to go over. And I'm American myself, but I've just never seen Wilder too good. I think he's always been overrated. That said, I do want to talk about Oscar Valdez versus Emiliano Navarrete too. I don't think it was okay, there's a lot of go over here. For starters, ESPN, you guys suck ass. ESPN Plus was supposed to start at 6:55, but you motherfuckers had that stream broken for 2.5 hours. I got to see none of the undercard fights. Fuck you. That's it. I can't. That was so dumb. I don't even care. I couldn't see anything. Without seeing anything, that was lame. My first fucking fight of the night was the Richard Torres fight, and that was a wash. And then the co-main event was ass. But how about the main event? Everybody's saying it's fight of the year. I'm going to be controversial. I don't think it was fight of the year. I think it was a one-sided ass beating. You see, Eddie Reynoso does this thing where he trains all his fighters to try to be mini Canelos. And what I don't think he realizes is that not everybody can be Canelo. What I mean is that you come in with a high guard, you don't throw a jab, you try countering, you have amazing footwork, and you don't counter off the good footwork. That's how Canelo looked against Bivol, and that's sort of how Oscar Valdez looked yesterday against Emmanuel Navarrete. Things to keep note: Emmanuel Navarrete threw a million punches, so Oscar had a million chances to counter punch, but the only thing he was really banking on was his counter hook that he knocked out Berchelt with. And looking through the fight, at most, I gave Oscar Valdez round 2. I was being nice. I gave him round 5, 6, and maybe, I say maybe, round 10. And all that being said, that's a 7-5 fight at most if you're being generous, or 8-4 type of fight, which I can see most people having a card for. Emmanuel was just better, more active, landing the heavier blows more often, not giving Oscar space to breathe, not giving Oscar space to adjust. But then again, I also think it's a slight issue on Oscar's fighting style, because like Tim Bradley would say, the high guard, it's limited visibility for starters, and if Emmanuel's throwing freaking uppercuts from places you can't see, it's just landing, and that uppercut was landing crazy on that type of fucking guard, which in my essence, I don't get why there was no adjustments made. I don't know what the hell Eddie Reynoso was banking on. At one point in the corner, he was saying in Spanish to Oscar, "Hey bro, calm down. Emmanuel has trouble making weight," which is true, but you can't be banking on that to win the last couple of rounds of their fight. It's just not how this works. And he just kept telling him, bank on the counters, this is how we're going to win the fight, which I agree. But at one point, you have to realize, man, it's not working. We have to make this a brawl. And he tried that near the last couple of rounds, round 10 and 12. The thing is, Navarrete's game is brawling. And it seemed that Oscar's best shots didn't do shit to Navarrete. So it's just like, okay, what's the next game? If plan A didn't work and plan B didn't work, what's plan C, D, and E? There was none. And so he did the classic Team Canelo thing, where it's just high guard, counter, bank on every counter being a really hard shot and hoping to hurt the other guy. And if it doesn't hurt the other guy, what's plan B or C? There is none. And so that's the essential fight. Do I think it was a fun aesthetic fight? Yeah, it was okay, but I think I've seen better fights this year. Arthur Betterby versus Anthony Yard, Kim Clavel versus Jessica Neri Plata. I could give you a million other fights that I think were better. A couple on Pro Box TV were better. I don't think it was fight of the year, but it was a good fight. Now, where do they go from here? I think Oscar Valdez just gets another couple tune-up fights. Top Rank knows what to do with him. Make him a good tune-up fighter. Make him a good, here's a couple of comer-uppers. Get him another title shot. There's opportunities there if they're smart about it, once Navarrete probably moves up to 135. Now, as for Navarrete, I think his really only option is to go to 135 and fight Shakur Stevenson. Because what is he going to do at 130? Top Rank has literally nobody there. Everybody else is on PBC or Matchroom. So you can't fight Oshaki. Oshaki Foster's an interesting option because he's a free agent. But I don't think they'll make that fight. And if they do, I think it's a 50-50 fight because people don't know Oshaki and how good of a boxer and brawler he can be. So, but the odds of that happening are 0. I know Top Rank likes to keep everything inside their little bubble and they won't explore. Outside from that, those are my 2 cents on the whole thing. I don't think there's too much craziness to go. I'm not going to slobber over Valdez versus Navarrete like everybody else is doing. A couple of my UK brothers think it's the best fight they've seen in years. I don't think so. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm jaded because of all the bullshit ESPN Plus did to me last night. But those are just my 2 cents. Anyways, that's all I got to say. Peace.